On the 25th of January 2011, which is called the Day of Revolt, protests erupted throughout Egypt on this day, chosen to coincide with the National Police Day. The purpose was to protest against abuses by the police in front of the Ministry of Interior. These demands expanded to include the resignation of the Minister of Interior, the restoration of a fair minimum wage, the end of Egyptian emergency law, and term limits for the president. On the 26th of January 2001, which was called Shutting Down the Internet, after several Facebook groups were created and so-called tweets facilitated mass demonstration, the Egyptian government decided to shut down internet access for most of the Egyptian people. On the 27th of January 2001, Ghunaim disappeared during the nationwide unrest in Egypt. His family told Al Arabiya and other international media that he was missing. Google also issued a statement confirming the disappearance. On the 28th of January 2011, the Friday of Anger protests began. Hundreds of thousands demonstrated in Cairo, which also saw the arrival of opposition leader Mohammed al-Baradi and other Egyptian cities after Friday prayers. There were reports of looting, and prisons were opened and burned down on orders from the then Minister of the Interior Habib al-Adli, causing prison inmates to escape in masses in what was believed to be an attempt to terrorize protesters. The prison breaks were coupled with a complete withdrawal of police forces from the streets. The military was ordered to deploy to assist the police. International fears of violence grew, but no major casualties were reported. President Hosni Mubarak made his first address to the nation after 4 days of ongoing protests and pledged to form a new government. On the 29th of January 2011, the military presence in Cairo increased and a curfew was declared, but protests increased and even continued throughout the night. The military reportedly refused to follow orders to fire live ammunition and exercised restraint overall. There were no reports of major casualties. On the 1st of February 2011, Mubarak made a televised address once again after unceasing protests and pledged he wouldn't run for another term in elections planned for September and pledged political reforms. He stated he would stay in office to oversee a peaceful transition. Small but violent clashes began that night between pro-Mubarak and anti-Mubarak groups. On the 2nd of February 2001, which was called Battle of the Camel, violence escalated as waves of Mubarak supporters met anti-government protesters, and some Mubarak supporters rode on camels and horses into Tahrir Square. The clashes were believed to have been orchestrated by Habib al-Adli, and there were hundreds of casualties. The military tried to limit the violence, repeatedly separating anti-Mubarak and pro-Mubarak groups. President Mubarak reiterated his refusal to step down in interviews with several news agencies. Incidents of violence toward journalists and reporters escalated amid speculation that the violence was being actively aggravated by Mubarak as a way to end the protests. On the 6th of February 2011, Egyptian Christians held Sunday Mass in Tahrir Square, protected by a ring of Muslims. Negotiations involving Egyptian Vice President Omar Suleiman and representatives of the opposition commenced amid continuing protests through the nation. The Egyptian army assumed greater security responsibilities, maintaining order and guarding Egypt's museum. Suleiman offered reforms, while others of Mubarak's regime accused foreign nations, including the US, of interfering in Egypt's affairs. On the 7th of February 2011, Ghunaim was released after 11 days in detention. Upon his release, he was greeted with cheers and applause when he stated, "We will not abandon our demand, and that is the departure of the regime." The same day, Ghunaim appeared on the Egyptian channel Dream TV